For those of you who don't know me, my name's Cody Weathers. I'm a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and the owner of an extremely large drum set. This is my recording kit that's in my home studio that never leaves this room and that I use principally to record the drums for the songs on my albums. This is affectionately referred to as Papa Bear. And let me go ahead and give you the quick nickel tour of how it's set up, how it came to be this way, and some, I guess, trivia of odds and ends about my thinking in setting it up this way to begin with. So I'll flip the camera around and let's get going. Okay, so to start with, it's best to think of this, the large kit, as two complete drum sets back to back with connective tissue in between. I've got a rock kit on this side, a jazz kit on this side, and then connective tissue going, or some other drums connecting them going around the left. So this is my rock kit, which is a Gretsch Catalina Ash. Really nice, dry, punchy, great recording kit, just really easy to hear what's going on. So it's 8, 10, 12 up, and 16, 18 down. I'll swap out snare, hats, and primary ride, but this is the snare I use most often, which is a 1970s Ludwig standard snare. So it's an 8-lug aluminum snare. It doesn't have the bead, the center bead of an acrylite, but I just love Ludwig aluminum snares. I think they just perfectly cut the distance between the warmth of a wood snare and the crack of like a steel snare. So a really nice sharp bite to it, but also some warmth and reserve. Then, twisting around, this connective tissue is mostly, let's see here. Okay, so I've got a Ludwig brass Piccolo snare there. It's the Carl Palmer signature, which is like a Piccolo version of the Black Beauty. Some mini timbales, a little blackout snare, which also sounds great as a tom with the snares off. A very deep vintage Ludwig Jazz Festival, very warm, very open kind of snare sound. A little circus tom that I love, that's like a deep shelled power tom, unknown maker. And then we turn and we're in my Slingerland Jazz Kit. So, you know, these are all Slingerlands. This is a snare from the 60s and then some matching finish, the kit from the 70s. So it's a wood snare, 3-ply with re-rings, and then 12, 13, and 14 for the toms, and a 20-inch bass drum. So that's kind of how I think of it, is that I can start off in sort of a jazzy mood with this jazz kit, which is then surrounded by my favorite vintage Zildjian cymbals, or I can start by facing this way and kind of disorient myself, having things on the wrong sides, and just having to kind of improvise my way through how to make a beat where things are not in the right places. Or I can be, you know, starting here and doing more of a rock idea. So now let me talk a little bit about the layout of the cymbals and the choices of those. Okay, real quick before I talk about cymbals, let me talk about the pedal layout on the primary kit. So I've got this DW7000 is a double pedal. That's just, you know, traditional double pedal for the main kick, and then here this is my 2-legged hi-hat, just the main hats with a drop clutch. This is a remote kick that actually strikes a kind of wide open jazzy. It's a 20-inch Ludwig auxiliary kick that's in front of the kit. And so that's if I'm sitting here and I want for a little while, like I did on, say, the song Deep, to sort of switch and have a boomier kind of wide open, fiber skin, batter, um, jazz kick without having to turn around and then kind of go back to here. This is a remote hi-hat that I love, of really large, this is an 18-inch China with a 16-inch effect cymbal on top. That's controlled remotely from this pedal right next to the main hi-hat. So a lot of times I will drop the drop clutch and get my main hi-hat just closed, and then use this as my left foot, 2 and 4 or whatever I'm going to do, splash it. And this, in addition to having the 1618, also has a little minor tambourine on there. And then next to that, I've got a cowbell, and then one more remote hat that is really hard to see, but it's way back here in the corner. It's a couple of cut down broken cymbals that just have a really sharp, brittle character, and it's just a different kind of noise to make. So now let me talk about the cymbals in general. Okay, so the cymbals are obviously the most defining, obvious characteristic of this kit is how many cymbals it has, and I didn't want there to be too exact a method to the madness, but there are some guiding principles to what I chose to put on this kit and what I was trying to accomplish. So I was trying to build something that was going to give me a really broad palette of choices when tracking drums and sort of improvising in the moment, because as a player I don't construct specific drum parts that stay the same. When it comes time to track the drums for a recording, I'm making it up a little bit as I go. I'm taking a groove and I'm letting it evolve, and I'm listening to what happened with the other instruments, and usually the drums are the last thing that I put onto a song when we're recording. So what I wanted was principle number one is everything needs to have a unique reason for being here. Like, I wanted every single cymbal that I put on here to have something about its sound that was unique and special, and a reason that I would choose that one over that one in this moment. That I'm thinking of that sound, not that sound. So that all the splashes, all the crashes are a little bit different from each other. There's something about them that I know about their personality that would make me want to choose them. That's my favorite thing about that cymbal or that cymbal. The second principle is that wherever I was facing, I needed to have quick, ready access in reach to at least one of each of the class of cymbals that I would typically want to fulfill some idea that was coming to mind. So I need to have a ride cymbal, hi-hats, a stack, china, a splash, an accent crash, in other words, like a quick hit it and quit it, a finishing crash, one with a longer, more majestic tail. Did I say china? But so obviously a cowbell, that's another one that I need to have wherever I'm facing. Those things need to be within quick reach, even if it's not, if I were, in the moment I might say, not that crash, but this one, but at the very least I've got a great crash in reach. So that's the second principle. The third principle is that I need to have a home for some unique voices that I've got. I've got this copper bell that I love, and that, I don't want to play on every song, but like in the song Faith, it's got a really great role in, coming out of the works a couple times and really having its own moment. I have like some nutshells, or I guess they're called gotos. I don't think they're really gotos, but this thing. And there's some moments in certain songs like Deep where they, again, serve to like provide some atmosphere or have a moment where they come out of the woodworks. I've got two really great giant chinas that are tremendous under mallets, and I needed to have a spot for them as well. So having unique places for those elements, and then finally, I wanted to create kind of circular neighborhoods of cymbals that sound good together. So the most obvious example of this is on the Jazz Kit. Well, that's where the tripod is. So here on the Jazz Kit, I've got a little neighborhood of all my very favorite vintage Zildjians. And so, because it is very often the case, it's quite inspiring to me to think of, playing this vintage kit with these vintage cymbals and kind of getting into a mood about, being kind of vintage in my approach and kind of, rooting myself in those kind of sounds. And I know it sounds silly, and it's, there's no magic to it, but it's important to, to inspire yourself and have that kind of like psychological aspect to your kit as well. And then finally, and this goes more to why I have this kit this way to begin with. I've always had big kits, but sort of traditionally big kits. I've had a lot of toms, but still pretty modular. Like at its heart, it's a regular drum set with just a few extra cymbals and some other stuff to the left that I wouldn't necessarily take to a gig, but I'd pick up the shell kit at the heart and move on. Like that was the Flip Nasty kit, was just this 5-piece Pearl with a bunch of extra toms, some timbales, an extra bass drum in the recording space, and then lots of cymbals and percussion, not anywhere near this many, but if I was going to a gig, I would only take half those cymbals and probably none of the percussion. But what I wanted to do with the opportunity to have this kit, in addition to having an instrument where I could really pick very specific voices and have, as I mentioned, a broader palette available to me to improvise and create grooves and drum parts that are musical on the fly and compositionally exciting to me, I also wanted to challenge my own orientation to the kit itself. I wanted to have lots more cymbals to explore and not just do toms, 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 and a cymbal. Toms, 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 and a cymbal. Snare, 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 and a cymbal. But instead, to let one cymbal lead to another, and let things kind of breathe and have the cymbals and the drums be more in balance with each other, more equal to each other. I also wanted, with this connective area, to give myself a place where I could completely disorient myself and kind of get into trouble and have to swim free. That, okay, all those ideas that are sort of muscle memory and locked into my hands of, this is on the right and this goes like this, and fills go from left to right and things go from high to low, instead to have to reach out angularly or to just create something that defies all the patterns that I've practiced and accumulated in my mind these 30 plus years of playing. And that's my favorite part about this kit, is that it's like at times playing the drums for the first time, and it's really exciting to do that. And for the few other drummers who have come up here and played this kit, it's been exciting to talk about how they've also felt like that's what hits them, is that you've got to explore it. And it's still exciting for me to explore this kit and to create things that are new and to feel like I don't know what's coming next, and I didn't plan this, but I'm gonna make it through this song and find something exciting and interesting because it's vast and because there's a lot of real estate to roam. So that's Papa Bear. That's my giant drum set, and hope that this was interesting. Hope it was maybe inspiring to you to think about mixing up your own kit somehow, to challenge yourself. Understand that I don't think I'm not Terry Bozzio. I'm not Neil Peart. I'm not that great a drummer, but I do love having this kit, and it's been it's been the greatest. I love this kit. So all right, thanks for letting me share it with you, and till next time.